Hey, welcome back to the channel, and I'm very excited to tell you that I've got a chance to work with Keanu, and I've got a chance to make a video for him, and I'm gonna show you the video in a moment. But before that, I'm gonna tell you that I have also recorded a full tutorial on how I make this video, from idea generation to simplifying the projects and breaking down into chunks and bringing all those chunks into one single composition that makes up this video to tell a better story. In today's video, I just want to show you just a part of that tutorial where you learn how to make 3D transitions that moves from one comp to another, and also you learn many more. So if you want to know how I made this video from start to finish, you can go subscribe to the Creators Club, and if you buy from my link below, you'll get a 40% discount and you will unlock all the other videos by Keanu himself. You have made amazing videos, making amazing tutorials on the platform, so make sure you go and check out from my link below. You'll get a 40% discount and it's a limited seat. All right, so let's take a look at the final video and we're gonna jump right inside the tutorial.
I realized my potential to make an impact on the world and on my own life. Each content piece, each story was an opportunity to inspire others, to share my knowledge and create my dream life. I wasn't just creating content, I was expressing myself to the world, using my skills to make a difference, connect with the coolest people on planet and experience unforgettable memories. My journey led me here to the Creators Club. It's more than a community, it's a summary of everything I have learned, faced and dreamed of. A place for creators like you and me to connect, to grow and to transform our dreams into reality. Join me at the Creators Club. Together we can create, inspire and change the world.
Alright, let's fire up After Effects. I'm going to import the footage, double click on the project panel, and I'm going to import the footage and a brand color palette. Import that. Let's drag and drop this inside the new composition icon, and I'm going to duplicate this, Control D to duplicate, and I'm going to shut off the sound and the visual for this, and I'm going to allow this, and I'm going to select this, hit LL to bring up the waveforms, and I'm going to drop this color palette inside this new composition, and maybe I'm going to scale it down and put it above somewhere here so that I can pick the colors from this palette and the design and the look goes consistently throughout the timeline. Right click and check these guide layers so that it will not render this color palette. Once you have this, like I said before, we will be splitting this into pre-comps, which I call it scenes, and let's listen to the audio first, right?
I realized my potential to make an impact on the world and on my own life. Each content piece, each story was an opportunity to inspire others, to share my knowledge and create my dream life.
Alright, I'll stop there till dream life. Hold down Shift, Control and D, and without selecting any layers, hit star on the numpad so that you can create a marker, and let's move ahead and listen.
I wasn't just creating content, I was expressing myself to the world, using my skills to make a difference, connect with the coolest people on planet and experience unforgettable memories. My journey...
Alright, somewhere around here I will chop again because you have a new soundtrack with a very new mood coming in, so you can listen.
Unforgettable memories. My journey led me
here. So he said my journey. Hit LL to bring up the waveforms. Let me just zoom in. Hold down Alt and scroll it. You can zoom in like that.
My journey.
Alright, somewhere around here I'm gonna trim this again, Control Shift and D, and without selecting any layers, again star to add a marker. So the reason why I added this marker is that we're going to extend few frames for both these layers, right? So what I mean is that I'm going to hold down Shift and page down twice, and I'll extend this here, and I'll go back here, and this time I'm going to hit page up by holding down Shift twice, and I am going to move it like this. So we're gonna add some transitions between these two pre-comps. That's why we are overlapping these layers. Okay, it will make sense in a while when I put everything together, right? So let's go and do the same for this here. Shift page up twice, and selecting on the layers, hold down Alt, and if you hit the left square bracket, that will extend the layer. And I'll do the same. Shift page down, this time 2 times, and hold down Alt, and this time I'm gonna hit the right square bracket. Okay, all right, once you have that, I'm going to pre-compose the first one. Control Shift and C, and I'm going to rename this scene underscore 1, and I'm gonna go and select this, move all attributes, hit OK. All right, once you have that, we're gonna focus only on scene 1 by going inside this by double clicking it. So if you see now, you have just an 18 seconds timeline, which is really easy to manage and work with. All right, let's go ahead and organize the project. Create a new folder, 1, asset, and I'm going to drop the asset, which is the video and image materials, inside this asset. Create another folder, which is 2, and rename these scenes, and I'm gonna drop these scenes inside this, and I'm gonna create another one, which is pre-comps, and I will add all the pre-comps inside this folder. And here we have the composition, which is this. Let's rename this Control K, and this time I'm going to rename this final render, okay, or render comp, okay, render comp. Okay, before I hit the OK button, let me just go ahead and lower the resolution for the sake of this tutorial so that we can work faster. But if you are on a project, make sure you are on a 4K resolution. But just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just lowering the resolution to 1080p, okay? 1080 by 1920. I'm going to select this, Control Alt and F, and the same for this. Select this, Control Alt and F, to scale the footage to the comp size. And I'll go inside scene 1, and I'll do the same for this because it has already adapted the resolution from the previous comp. So I'm gonna make this 1080p sequence as well. Okay, select this, Control Alt and F, and if you go back, and you can see that it's perfect. So let's go to scene 1, and let's listen to this. Make sure you are at the half resolution so that you can work faster, or else if you set this to full, it will really make your system slow very quick. So I suggest you work with the half resolution. So if you play it back and listen,
I realized my potential to make an impact.
just like I said in the introduction video, I would like to, have some visual concept of potential. And I just Googled and I found that, the progress bar seems to be nice for this. So I'm going to create a progress bar animation. Before that, we'll just make this a 3D layer. And after that, we'll just create a camera. Sorry, a null object and a camera, and the null object should be a 3D layer, and parent this camera to the null, and we can rename this cam controller. Okay, so hit P on the camera controller and maybe around here, set a position keyframe, and go back to the first, and I'm gonna zoom in something like this, and the camera
I
comes
realized
out
my
like this, right? And I'm gonna select these keyframes, F9 for easy ease, go to the graph, and if you don't find a graph like this, make sure you check this edit speed graph and select this, and I'm gonna make it something like this. Go back to the timeline.
I realized my
Okay, that's really nice.
I
So
realized
I'm gonna add a new solid, a black solid, and maybe I'm gonna put it just above this footage, and go and select this ellipse tool, double click on it, and go and select this mask and subtract this, hit F to feather it, and we're gonna feather something like this. And I'll also create a new adjustment layer and just put it above the black solid, and I'm gonna search for tint. By the way, I'm using a plugin from Video Copilot. It's completely free. I hope you are aware of this plugin. It's the FX console. I think it's very common, and if you don't have that, you can go and download that plugin. It's completely free from Video Copilot. Okay, so let's tint this to maybe red. Okay, so let's select both these layers, hit T to bring up the opacity. So he said, I realized, by the way, if you hold down control and scrub the time indicator, you can listen to this like this. That's a really nice, feature here. Hold down control and you can just scrub this. So set a keyframe here, go to the first frame and make this to 0.
I realized my
Oops, that's the reverse. Maybe set a keyframe here because we want to start with red, and he said I realize, so after that it's gonna be 0. F9 for easy ease, and maybe I'm gonna make the graph to like this. And if you listen to this,
I realized my
yes, very nice.
I realized my
All right, that's very nice, and we're gonna trim this layer, both these layers.
I realized
So we just need it till here. Hold down Alt and right square bracket to trim that. We just need it till here. And I'm gonna change this camera and camera controller to yellow. All right, let's create the progress bar without selecting any layers. Select this rounded rectangle tool, and let me just zoom in and draw a progress bar, something like this. Okay, and we're gonna select this and hold down control and click on this pen behind tool. That will center this. By the way, I'm going to grab this and make it to the left side. Hold down control and just drag this, it will snap it to these corners. Okay, and I'm going to rename this to maybe stroke and say center it to the composition, something like that, and duplicate this, move this duplicate just below this stroke, and I'm going to rename this progress, and I don't need the stroke and I just need the fill. By the way, I'm going inside this asset and I'm gonna import this color palette again. Now I'll show you how I use this color palette. Okay, let me move it somewhere here, right click and guide layer, and I'm gonna select this progress, go to fill, and I'm gonna pick the color of this, and bam, you have that. Very simple. So once you have this, we're gonna animate this. So
I realized my potential.
is that
I realized my
potential
realized my
potential till here. Maybe I'm going here and I'm going to collapse this transform. This is the global controls of transform. If you collapse this contents inside this rectangle, you'll see another transform. You're not going to do with this. just go to the global controls of transform. Okay, I'm gonna uncheck this link constraint proportion. Sorry, I'm going to unlink this constraint proportion, and I'm gonna set a keyframe for the scale, and maybe from here I'm going 0.
Realized my potential to make.
Okay, nice. Select all the keyframes, F9, and I'm going to go inside this stroke, and I'm gonna add a trim path, and select this progress bar, hit U to reveal the keyframes, and we're gonna do the same duration. So set a keyframe for the end, go to this keyframe, set this to 0, select all the keyframes, F9, maybe I'm going to select both these keyframes, go to the graph, and I'm going to make the graph something like this. And
I realized my potential to
okay,
make.
maybe I will offset the timing a little bit, so the stroke will come first, and maybe I'm going to offset this progress a little bit later on. The stroke comes first, and then
I realized my potential to make an impact. I realized my potential to make an.
okay, maybe that's a little bit fast. Drag it here.
I realized my potential to
Okay,
make.
that's perfect. And what I am going to do is make this to a 3D layer, and I'm going to create a new null object and make this 3D, and I'm going to use this as a controller for these 2 layers. Okay, select these layers and parent this to the null. So I can rename this maybe controller. So right after that,
I
you can
realized
see
my.
you don't have any depth here, so it's just flat. I want some parallaxing going on between the, you know, the clip, the video, and the progress bar. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to 2 views, and you can see, go to the left view, and right now you can see the stroke here. I'm going to move these towards the camera, and if I play it back, maybe somewhere closer than that.
I realized my potential. I realized.
Okay, maybe select this controller, hit S, and scale it down because it's not visible now. Maybe 30. And if I play it back now.
I realized my potential.
Okay, let me just adjust the timing a little bit so that we have some, hit U, we have some, you know, parallaxing there. Maybe offset even more.
I realized my potential to make.
Okay, so he said potential, right?
I realized my potential.
So I'm going to add a new text. Let's go to one view and set this to fit, zoom it in, and potential. And I'm using this ITC font from Adobe Fonts, and I'm gonna center this, make it here, and make it this 3D. And I'm gonna copy the position of the controller, B, Control C to copy, or Command C, and Control V or Command V, and paste it on the text layer. So you have a bigger text, make it small, and I'm going to add a ramp here. Ramp, and you know, I'm gonna pick the color this and the bottom layer to this, and move these points here, and the second one, or you can just pick this and put it somewhere here. Okay, very nice. So All you need is
I realized my potential.
the camera, sorry, the text animation now. So select this text and collapse this, go to animate, and I'll add a position. Where is it? The position. And I'm going to move this position down somewhere here. Or maybe I can just zero this and maybe move it a little bit. And maybe move it a little bit up somewhere here. And now I'm going to change this position somewhere here and 80, and collapse this range selector, go to advanced and go inside the shape, change from square to ramp up, and I'm going to animate the offset, right? So I'm going from a negative 100. Let's see the timing. So right from here, set a keyframe. Set potential here, and it has to go up here.
My potential to make.
Okay, so F9 for easy ease, and I'm gonna make this like this.
I realized my potential to make.
Maybe adjust it a little bit.
Realized my potential to make.
All right.
I realized my
All right,
potential.
you can see that you still have this text here. So we're gonna mask this so that it looks like the text is coming from the back side of this, right? So it's very easy to do. Let's go to the final stage, which is this position, and right click, mask, and new mask. Simple as that. Something like that. Or you can even, double click on this and align it perfectly with this so that it will seem like it's coming out from there, right? So
I realized my potential
okay,
to make.
that's very cool. And right after this, let's play.
I realized my potential to make an.
So I'm going to select this and move it up here. Select this camera controller, hit U to see the keyframes. So
I realized my potential.
set potential, and I want to zoom in a little bit on the potential, somewhere, something like this.
I realized my potential to make an impact.
So impact. So right after. So the camera has to fly inside this progress bar. Okay. So what I like to do is go to two views, and I'm going to animate the camera this here. So I am at the left view, and I'm going to select this controller and move it until it crosses that layer. You can zoom in here. You can see this is the shape layers. Maybe cross that right there, right? So if you scrub back, you can see that. It might be really confusing for you now. Let me just explain it how we're gonna do it, okay? Let's go to one view. And so the camera is passing this progress bar. We're gonna transition this to a different comp, right? So once this crosses, you still have this, but how we're gonna do is we're gonna make another comp, and the camera will fly inside that comp, okay? So I'm gonna duplicate this clip, Control D, and pre-compose it, Control Shift and C, and rename this pre-comp_1, and I'm gonna hit OK. After that, make this a 3D layer again. Go to the project, and I'm going to find that, where is it? It's inside this scene. Drag out and put it inside pre-comp. So if you are organized like this, it's gonna be a lot more easier for you to find comps later on, okay? So we have exactly the same thing here. So I'll go inside this pre-comp, and maybe just for the sake of demonstration, I'll just add a solid, and I'm add a solid again. Maybe I'll rename these to grid, and I'll add a grid. I'm going to add a grid, and let's keep this for now, and maybe can write impact, right? Impact, and make this to the center, and maybe it's going to scale it up, center of the composition, something like that. Let's keep that for now, and let's go back to scene 1. You can see that it's the same thing going on there. So we're gonna use this shape layer to mask out that, right? So I'm going to select this progress, and I'm going to duplicate this and rename this mask underscore 1. And right after that, right before the camera zooms here, I want this to open up. So progress bar, hit P, set a keyframe, and move a little bit closer, and y-axis to move it down like that. And make sure you turn off the mask. And if you go here, you can see that
Potential to make an impact.
Okay, that's very nice. Maybe I'll adjust the timing a little bit. Here comes in and it opens up like that, right? So F9 for easy ease. So we're gonna mask this out first, because you can see it's still visible here. I am going to select the progress bar and go to this toggle switches, and I'm going to mask this like that. So it's masking out very nicely like that, and it has to go inside the impact, right? So we're going to do the same with this pre-comp. I'm going to mask this like that, right? So if you play it back now, you can see that it's very nicely, it has masked that out. So potential, and the camera goes in, and then it goes in and it disappeared again. So the reason you have that is, let's go to two views again, left view. So this free comp is showing here inside the progress bar because of the mask, right? So the mask layer is this one, which is a shape layer in 3D space. And if you zoom in here, the mask layer is somewhere here, which is projecting the images inside this pre-comp, right? If it makes sense. So when the camera dollies in here, you can see the camera have not reached the position of this mask, so it's still visible. And if you go and right it past that layer, you can see that it's not visible anymore because the mask layer is somewhere here and the camera has already passed that layer. So a quick fix for that is, maybe you go here, and right after there you don't need the mask anymore, right? So it's already in. I'm going to chop this, trim this, Control Shift and D. So we're gonna use the mask up until 3 seconds. After this 3 seconds, we are not going to rely on the mask, and we're gonna say no matte, and yeah, that's fine. So if you play it back now, what the camera sees is the layer on top of this footage. So all right, let's go back to one view.
I realized my potential to make an impact.
Okay, very smooth transition, right? All right, let's go inside pre-comp 1, which is this, and we're gonna make everything from here again, right?